Hello students, today we will discuss Bhavabhuti's poem Is Poetry Always Worthy When It's Old? Bhavabhuti lifetime probably was in the later half of the 7th century AD. He was a resident of Padampur in Vidarbha in South India. His father's name was Neelkant and his mother's name was Jatukarni. He was Brahmin by caste and a devout worshipper of Lord Shiva. Many shlokas were composed by him in praise of Lord Shiva. His active life as a poet is supposed to be from 693 to 729 AD. He had extraordinary command over Sanskrit. His style of writing is narrative. In his works, great genius and scholarship are found. His works are full of description of the beautiful scenes of nature. Bhavabhuti's works are Mahavir Charitra, Uttar Ramcharitra, Malti Madhava. Mahavir Charitra is his first play in which Ram's marriage, Ram's exile, Sita's abduction, and Ram's coronation have been described. His fame as a dramatist is based chiefly on Uttar Ramcharitra. In Uttar Ramcharitra, Ram's biography after his coronation has been described. In the play Malti Madhava, the love and the marriage of Malti and Madhav have been described. Malti Madhav is a purely imaginative story. The plot of the play is very attractive. In Bhavabhuti's dramas, extraordinary characterization, plot construction, exquisite language, and style are found. Bhavabhuti also composed shlokas on the principles of poetry and criticism. Now, let us discuss the poem. Some learned critics do not understand the real and the intrinsic significance of Bhavabhuti's poetry. They find fault with his poetry, do not appreciate it. They make adverse criticism of it and publicly make fun of it. But Bhavabhuti does not care at all for their adverse criticism. He remains indifferent to their adverse criticism and publicly ridiculing his poetry. Bhavabhuti is fully confident that a day will come when a man will understand the real and the intrinsic significance of his poetry and appreciate it. Such a man will share his thoughts. Certainly, the world is not coming to an end with these critics who ridicule his poetry. Time is endless and the world is wide. Thus, Bhavabhuti expresses his confidence that in future his poetry will be appreciated and his thoughts expressed in his poetry will be shared by people. In this stanza, 4 lines, Bhavabhuti expresses his indifference to the adverse criticism of his poetry, which is made by many learned critics. He says that if some learned critics consider his poetry to be of no worth and ridicule it, let them do. He says that he does not care at all for such adverse criticism. Moreover, he declares that he did not compose his poetry for such critics who find fault with his poetry unnecessarily without understanding the significance of it. Bhavabhuti has full confidence that a day will come when man will understand the worth of his poetry and appreciate it. Such a man will share his thoughts embodied in his poetry. Bhavabhuti further says that time is endless and the world is wide. The world is not coming to an end with these critics who ridicule his poetry. Bhavabhuti is sure that in